You all set? All right. Councilor Thompson, is he coming, do you know?
I'm not heard from.
It's not on the line there either. We can go here. I'll call the Property Services Committee meeting to order. First is the approval of the agenda.
So moved, Peter.
Second, Councilor Boyles.
Second.
Second by Councilor Turner. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Down by nay. Motion carried. Next is approval of the minutes for June 21st, 2021.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor McKeel. Second by Deputy Warden Murray. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. One time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Under my report, refers to Councilor Keogh referred to, and I think we had this probably before, divest Nova Scotia. Should be divert Nova Scotia. And also the next line below that's a bit unclear. It says that I replied that there are representatives from across the province that can help us on the cleanup. It's unclear as to what we're cleaning up or who's going to help. It was really that group that hurt Nova Scotia, you know, there's talk in there coming up with more ways that we can better address the littering problem and whatnot.
Yeah.
And nobody's coming to help us clean it up though. And it sort of sounds like there's representatives from across the province coming here to help us clean it up.
Yeah.
There is a number of efforts afoot in the province to find better ways to deal with that problem. Is really what we meant there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's change the game. Okay, is there anything else? If not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Down by nay. Motion carried. Next up is the reports. First is the building inspection report. By Councilor Watt. Seconded by Councilor Valley. Sorry. Really brings it.
What kind of do?
Are there any questions on the building inspection? Councilor McKeel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just want to make a comment. It just seems that looking to where we were a year ago, there's been considerable growth and considerable investment in our county, and keeping our building inspector office busy, and it seems that there's lots of new homes growing up across the county and garages and improvements. So it's nice to see some growth happening here in the county.
Yes, there is this increase there. Councilor Valley.
I'd just like to comment on the building inspector's report. Just say that in my community, a gentleman is putting in a trailer park for, I guess, for seasonal trailers. And it became very clear to me that the great need that we have for planning, the only restrictions this guy has to worry about is to make sure he gets the culvert in the right place as he drives in, and the environment is watching his water and sewage set up. But other than that, you know, he's putting in a park in a number of people's front yard, and there's nothing we can do about it. So it just emphasizes to me the great need that we have for planning, and I know that's on the agenda for the in the year ahead.
Okay. Anybody else? Seeing none? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, nay. Motion carried. Next is the bylaw enforcement officer's report.
So moved, Peter.
Councilor Boyles.
I'll second it.
Second by Councilor Turner. Any questions? Councilor Watt.
One probably an update on the old, or the original 16 Birchline of the landing.
16 Birchline Lane.
The same April. 28th. I'm just wondering if there's anything more reasons in April.
Okay. Brian, anything on that?
I don't, but Logan may.
Logan?
Yes, I can speak to that if everybody can hear me.
Sure.
Thank you, Councillor Wadden. Notices have gone out to a number of these properties, including the residents at Birch Lane. So that would be to direct, to direct the improvements to be made. We will be actively following up with that file and looking to see whether or not it is taken care of, and we will report back to council at that time.
Do we have any dates for the last estimate is April? How long do they have to come down? I'm getting calls from down the area. I'm quite concerned that nothing's going down.
Oh, pardon me, sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you. I think that you asked about a date for that, the dates assigned in the Birch Lane letter or correspondence. So in our most recent letter, we had, sorry, just bear with me for 1 second. Here we go. I'm sorry, Councillor Wadden. I can follow up with the date. It looked like we had a date of mid-month, but I think that was delayed, and I think that it was going to be end of the month. But I can follow up with the official letter and follow up with you tomorrow on that if when our bylaw enforcement officer is back in the office. Does that sound acceptable?
That's fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Count aye, nay. Motion carried. Next is the digital speed signs. Ward. Oh, sorry, Ward.
I'll second it.
Move second. Do you have any questions on the board? Seeing none? Let's go on. And that's good. Anyway, hearing none, all those Councillor Ward Carter.
I just wanted to give a brief update, if I could, Mr. Chair, on the Wellness Center. We had an actual in-person meeting today, and we didn't have to wear masks. For the 60th quarter, we didn't have to wear masks, so that's interesting. But the new man in charge is Green McNeil, and he seems to be really ambitious and getting a lot of things moving. Just watch out for sure in the last 2 months because of COVID, but he does have a lot of plans for the future, which there's going to be an ad hoc committee put together to work on these plans for looking at having instead of just a board of governance, which is really what we are, the board, the mayors and myself, along with I think the 3 community members are on that board now. So it's looking to have a board of governors and also a board of directors. And the directors would be more from the community people that would have expertise in certain areas to help things out. And so they're going to look at that whole setup and how it might work so that you don't have 2 clashing boards. There's certain responsibilities for the board of governors, certainly looking out for the municipal contributions and whatnot, but also on other major issues, but the board of directors would look after a lot of day-to-day type operational responsibilities. And so if you know of anybody who you think might be interested going down the road in one of those positions on the board of directors, you're going to be looking for people with different skill sets, like I say, for that. And the other thing, I guess, about the wellness center is we can expect, as can other municipalities, a larger draw on our finances this year because of the fact that there's really no income there for the last 2 months. And there's still a very high cost of keeping the place operating. So that eventually comes back to municipalities, you know, in terms of that bill, now they might be able to make up some of that, and we've got a lot of months left, or only 2 months in, or 3 months in again now, and, but right now, it looks like, it's gonna be an uphill climb to get that back, and they haven't had any income for, the best part of 3 months. So that's just a short update I wanted to give you on the meeting we had this morning at the bottom.
Councilor Keel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was wondering if you could elaborate, Mr. Warden, on number 5, attended a virtual session with Engagement with Scotia on the Quality of Life Initiative, the county edition. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, this was, I received an invitation. It was, I think it was a Zoom, not a teleconference. I forget after a while which one it was, but doesn't matter. They have a group in Victor County, a leadership group that they're working with, and they have groups across the province, and looking at all kinds of ways to, you know, improve people's lives, not just financially, but in many other ways. And it sort of grew out of, you go back to the Ivany report, 2014, I think it was, and then there was a 2020 group around here that had several meetings looking at how to improve people's lives and whatnot. So it's a good effort. It's, you know, they're working hard at it. Danny Green is the leader of it. He was the former leader of the Liberal Party in Nova Scotia at one time. But I had a good chat with him on the phone one day as well. And I think they're moving in some positive directions. They're looking at areas where they can help people's day-to-day life, I guess. And one particular one they're looking at a lot is with single parent families, looking at the mental health issue. Looking at various issues where people's lives are, you know, a lot of stress on them, I guess, you know, a lot of things that maybe a whole lot of people don't have to deal with every day, and trying to look at what are the areas that they did a survey, so they have a pretty good idea of what are the areas that we need to concentrate on. So I think it'll benefit the county in the long run. It's nothing that's going to happen real quickly, but I think it's positive.
Yes. Council what?
Yes, sir. We just asked the board to accept the beginning of this was correct. It said it said we didn't have, I didn't hear what you said, but we didn't have something.
Not do it. The first part I was talking about was the board of governors, board of directors.
You know, but when you start that conversation,
On the financial part.
they didn't have.
Well, they didn't have a very good first 3 months because they couldn't have any customers. You know, there wasn't anybody allowed in hardly. There was a pretty well closed right down for a while.
No, just saying at the very beginning, they said they didn't have something.
Oh, they didn't have to, when we went to meetings, we didn't have to wear masks. Okay, I found kind of different. Okay, sorry. I found kind of different because here we have to wear them, there they didn't have to wear them, but, you know, only 10 miles away.
You couldn't make out what you're hearing, what you're saying.
Yeah, because of the masks.
All right, okay. Is there anything else? Hearing none. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Down by nay, motion carried. Next is digital time, speed times, the schedule for the upcoming months. This is just for information purposes. Do you have any questions? Councilor Dorr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm glad to see we have a list that we'll be able to look for in our area. Thank you.
Okay. Good. On that. Number 4 is GSA boundary change request for District 4. Apparently this, Brian, was changed in the last boundary review that we did.
No, I think it's coming from the residents that they believe or want to be associated with the different community. There's a bit of a discrepancy with the residents that live there believe is the GSA boundary versus what is the official, what we show as the official. So they're just asking it that adjustment be made.
Yeah. Councilor Elder. Want to speak on that?
I could just say that there's only 5 residents that feel that they're not in the community On their tax bill, it shows a different community, and all the years they've always assumed they were in a particular community. So there was a boundary change form made, and the residents all signed off on it to agree on what they agreed, where they live. It was just, and the two communities are Watson and Bigny. And what happened was the sign went out, and the sign was put in the wrong location because the sign wasn't there. And that's what started it. So now they want to make it so that the signs are in the proper location and the communities have the right signs there. Because they take it to heart and where they live and bring it up, and just like the conceptually always said that. Thanks.
Here. One member.
You see it become trials on this and the stuff the council earlier voted. So I turned to drive out one day and, it just seemed to be a matter of the, 2 year, I guess it called something different now, just got signs basically in the wrong place. They plunk them in here and there, and plus even on the other end. Biggie, they're not in the right place on either end, you go from Biggie, what's the other, the next name? Wellster?
Oh,
Yeah, but on the other end, they're not in the right place either.
there's no sign there now.
Yeah, they were supposed to be when you go out of Wellsford, you're in the big deal, it's not. But they just put the sign somewhere, they didn't worry too much about where they went, so all the confusion really started when they came out. So the signs are not placing, but they did say that their mail up here isn't right. It's addressed to what? It's Big Name, it should be Hudson.
It's addressed to Bigny, where they do live in Hodson.
Yeah.
The first 5 or 6 houses are in Hodson, but because of where the sign is located, it shows they're in Bigny. And they've never ever said anything, but once the sign went in the wrong location, then they stuck to the plate and wanted a form made to change it.
So they do get their mail, I think, from here, addressed to the wrong addresses, is that right? Yeah. That's what I gathered from talking to the lady anyway, was that the mail from the county says that they're in Big Name when they're pretty tough. But it must be because it's on the wrong place on the map. Anyway,
Where they think they live and what the official record is, it's different. So they want to change the official record to reflect what the community believes is the boundary. That's what this will be.
there's no real disagreement.
So does that mean 911 allowed something every day? Is that part of this?
It would be an automatic update as soon as we change the GSA. All of this is automatically updated through 911. So their civic addresses won't change or anything. It's just the community name would change. So it's a seamless process once it's approved here. The change is forwarded on to the Geomatic Center and the 911 database that is updated.
Thank you.
Need a motion to approve, right?
Yes.
What they do, they both do that.
Also. Moved and seconded by Councilor Dorn. Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Count by name. Motion carried. This is the update on the rural broadband project. Right?
It was circulated in advance. If there's any particular questions, I guess,
Yeah.
I can address those. We changed the date last month, we reported at council. From now on, we'll report at the committee level, and that's just, it's more of a timing thing. So the information that we receive is more timely as opposed to being potentially 4 or 5 weeks out date like it was last month. So this is really current to 2 weeks ago, right? So it's a little more timely, although even some of the things that are in here, we checked on cost because it happened in the last 2 weeks. So generally, it's going to be a little more accurate. Just, I guess, One of the highlights in particular highlights, it says that under two crossings in Ring 1 might take 8 to 10 months to get approved for permits. So in essence, that's a river crossing and I think the other one might be 2 river crossings. So what they basically will have to do is build on one side of the river, come up, spool it, build on the other side of the river, spool it, go to the next crossing, build, spool, and say. So what it basically does is, and then once the approvals are there, they splice it together. What it does, there's a particular area, probably, we'll say 15 to 30 homes that basically normally have fiber. Until that's approved, won't have fiber because the connection isn't made. So it affects a particular segment. And the 8 to 10 months is kind of just a worst case scenario. And kind of speaking with Matt on Friday on that point, doesn't think it'll be 8 to 10 months, but that's kind of the outside. It took them as long as, I guess it's, Nova Scotia Power have to deal with Nova Scotia Environment and some of the regulatory on these, so that's why it's kind of put out there in a long time frame. So under, it was in the last report, the resource person, so the job description is being worked on for that posting. Hopefully that will be complete this week. Rapid Deployment Network will launch public consultation process in July. So 2 of the sites that we're looking to build towers on, one being this building here where we would have a tower, as well as one in the northern area. Those packages will probably go out in the next week to anybody that's within 120 meters of the tower is the default perimeter for that. So registered letters will go to all properties that are affected by that. In the case of this one here, there's only 5 actual properties, and we're one of the property owners that would be affected. Department of Transportation would be affected as well. Make ready, continue to move along. One of the highlights kind of on the make ready process has been as we've been working through that process. On a few of them, I guess when he kind of he did a deep dive on them, some of the costs that were being estimated, we were basically fixing existing problems that were there. So it was kind of pushed back at Nova Scotia Power to say, if you have a sag problem, we shouldn't be fixing it. So they agreed to that. So our make ready costs, the revised quote will be coming back, and it's probably in the $70,000 to $80,000 range in savings on those issues. So we continue to work with other carriers to look at the transport services, so moving data, and then hopefully within the next week we'll have that firmed up with the provider. we will start some discussions with adjacent municipalities as well, just to see if there are opportunities to partner, share infrastructure, things of that nature. On the other thing, we're getting close to contracting with NCS for the actual managed operations. And on the phase one, Rock Networks, as it's mentioned here, still does not have subcontractor agreements in place for the construction. And basically it's imperative that happens. So we're working, Digital Ubiquity are working on that issue to resolve that issue within the next 14 days. So construction can be because the make ready work, like the tree trimming and those activities, it's all supposed to start within the next 2 weeks on the poles and stuff. So we need to be in a position that as soon as that work is completed, then we start and fiber on poles. Hardwood Hill on the rapid deployment network, the Hardwood Hill Tower is ready for installation of initial equipment. So that equipment is soon to be on site and ready to be installed, and the rooftop microwave equipment for here also be installed. And we have Eastlink were here last week and installed the 10 gigabit service from here to Halifax. So that's our transport from this office through to Halifax. They were back today to actually they fix it because they weren't getting a signal in Halifax, so the techs were here pretty much all day trying to get that operational. So that's ready to go. There's various breakdown of the various components of the project as well. Budget-wise, projections are right now that we will be under budget on the phase one project as well. We're trending to be under budget on the rapid deployment network as well. And there is a map was included in the project or the report that shows the various tower locations throughout the county as well. And last month, the report did show or had a note that some of the towers were at risk. There are no towers at risk. All towers are basically where they need to be as far as the overall project scope goes, and November 2021 deadline of the Eastern Canada. If there are any specific questions,
Yeah, I have a few. You ready for them?
sure.
Yes. First up, Councilor Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
First of all, I'd like to say that it was a pleasant surprise to get this dashboard with so much information on it. It's a great management tool, and it's well overdue, but we have it now, and it's going to benefit us greatly as we go forward. As a management tool, it's a wonderful piece of information. And there was a couple of things that in your particular highlights that stuck out as questions, and you answered most of them. But the first one is rock network contract needs urgent amendments for county's risk management. So has there been any movement on that?
Yeah, so we basically have that pretty much complete at this point. And we're actually meeting tomorrow morning to go through kind of the final version of that. And the main kind of changes are, it's around structure and how things get approved, and it's really these dashboards to some degree, and approvals through the dashboard. So if a change is made in the overall design system, it generates the change directive that updates everything right across the board. It goes out for signature, so it comes to me for signature. Simultaneously, it goes to Rob for signature as well. And those are the type of amendments that are kind of putting those processes and management processes in place. Yeah, type thing. So that's great management.
Yeah. Second thing is that kind of stuck out at me was the procurement needs to be accelerated. Now we're going to start lane 5 or soon. We have all our materials in place to do that. If this dashboard says that we need to accelerate our procurement, because it says projects are currently under spending need to increase PO size of the PO cadence established around the 15th of every month. Then it says procurement must be accelerated across the project. So we're going to speed things up in terms of procurement.
In essence, yeah.
We have a method to do that now.
Exactly. So again, the portal's the tool, right? So all the subcontractors, any subcontractor that works on the project has to be part of the overall agreement. Is they have to be part of the portal. So anything that's being done is all through that, right? So it's all about managing how the process works and really accelerating some of the bits and pieces.
Okay. And just a couple more, if I could, Mr. Chair. And one of the things that I know as well, and you had addressed this with what network subcontractors, they have a problem with subcontractors getting them in place. If you've addressed that, and I'm glad it was brought up that the adjacent municipalities should be considered in some of this project because there's some synergies that might be realized from that. And the last thing I said says there in terms of recommendations for action to revenue, the county needs to prepare to collect revenue and systems that have been implemented for collection. So it says recommendation, and it says it's been in place. So which is it? Is it recommending or is the system in place to collect the revenue?
They're being developed at this point. So we have a pretty, I guess, robust financial side of it as well. So they've been developing the system and putting the kind of the banking arrangements in place. But to my knowledge, we haven't tested that at this point. So.
And I must say that I feel much better about this whole project now that we have this information in front of us. Detailed is what you need to know. You can communicate this with our residents. So it's being managed now, which is, makes me feel much more comfortable. Thank you.
Yeah. Councilor Dave Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I also want to comment on Brian doing this on Friday and gave me a chance to read through it. A couple of times I thought I was in the foreign language with a lot of acronyms and I hadn't tried to figure out. And like Councilor Turner,
It does get one more starts. The very first play that I had played was saying that he had played that in the rock communications. A couple of, I guess, comment and a question. Market condition. Bell has been expanding this county. And I would suggest that's because they know they're gonna have competition. I'm not really particularly concerned with get services to say, deficit with the June 7th first. I'm just concerned that we get those jobs are secure in our community. So yeah, we're gonna be competition, gonna do that all along. And the fact that we're pushing forward the project is causing them competition to reevaluate their efforts as well. The other that I had flagged that Larry did not address under people. It's about the county partnership hired at least one resource. I've been harping on that tune for several months now. We need to have good people and enough people carry this up. And it shouldn't all be on our CIO's plate. Not saying that it's not doing his best, doing his job, saying there needs to be more resources up there. My question is, when will we be hiring a resource person?
Don't have a firm date, but our goal is to at least have the job description and stuff done this week. So, once we have that, then we can start to kind of plan the hire, right? But that's actually our goal, between Matt LeMay and, myself is to have that completed this week. For John.
I'm gonna pay shortly after that. Okay, thank you.
Council one.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a number of questions if I'm asked them. I gave Mark that work, I have particular concerns with that, especially the part of stuff we did sign off, but on the, so when there are the people with rock networks, subcontractors that are not being managed. It seems that everything with rock network is a concern, and I'm just wondering, do we have them under control now? Or what else do we have to do with the control and get them more performance?
I think what we're putting in place will give us that ability to manage them to some degree. The other things our contract does have and has had from day one is the ability to claw work back and change scope. So if we get to a point that we're not getting the results we need, then we may have to look at another solution. But what we're trying to do is get them to position that they're ready to build when we're ready to build. Really. So it's kind of pushing that along, like to some degree. I think they've been a little stagnant because of the make ready process, but the make ready process is moving, right? So you can't sit still because eventually that make ready process is going to end and you have to be ready to build. So it's really getting them accelerated. So when we hit that point, they're ready to go. Is what we're trying to or usually trying to do.
When you say claw back, do you mean claw back the work from rock?
Yeah, we can do that as well. So.
Like the business case for like tutorials compared to local rapid office solutions. That's saying that they're, didn't we already do that now, or should we have been doing that all?
Yes. So really that is looking at that overall building the line to Choro was based off of, to some degree, based off of co-location in Truro and then doing a fiber swap from Truro to Halifax. And that part of the equation fell off the table when the F6 Networks was taken over, so they don't own the line anymore between Truro and Halifax. So it kind of changed the landscape a bit, so it's kind of evaluating whether or not it still makes sense to build to Truro, because we would still have to find transport from Truro into Halifax. We have, in essence, what we've done, we have transport to Halifax from here, they're building through Eastlink, and we've basically got the quote to get us from New Glasgow to Halifax. What would be our point of presence in Glasgow? We can get transport from there to Halifax. I did 100 gigabit service, so 10 times what we have in this building through. So it's evaluating, does it make sense based on those numbers that we have to actually put capital money in the building that long for, right? It's really just comparing the operating and the capital investment. Does it make sense to do that type thing? So that's something we should have hopefully for council to kind of make a decision on very shortly, whether or not it makes sense to change direction there.
Just on the rapid deployment network, the public consultation, is it going to be public consultation, just a letter for each individual thing you know that?
Yeah, so the process is defined by Industry Canada that we have to follow. So it's basically the letters going, there is for each of the sites, I think there is to be a public open house type session for each of them type thing. So the open houses may become redundant because stage one, people may not have any objections to, so the open house may not.
Okay.
Right, type thing, but so it is a department process, but they are scheduled open houses.
The RDN with the Harvard Hill Tower, that's the bell tower we're going on.
On Mr. DN.
Yes, the Harvard Hill Tower is ready for possession of it.
Yeah, so that's a co-location. with
Yes, so are we below the bell?
Yes.
Network?
Yes.
Does that affect, how does that affect?
It does. So when we were looking to build our own tower there, we were looking to build to 65 meters. Our equipment was going to be at 65 meters. That bell tower was an 80 meter tower or 75 meter tower. So we've actually, our co-location agreement is at 65 meters. So we're at the exact same height that we would have been of our own. And the technologies are different. So Bell uses LTE and we're using TV white space. So
I'm sorry, we're using
TV white space.
on the white space.
Yeah. So there's no issues, no interference issues due to that. And we ended up at the same height with them.
And then it says site separation. Okay, we spent 100 gigabytes instead of 20 gigabytes, and it's been impossible after that. What does that mean?
So Eastlink just don't have the ability to give us 100 gigabit service, right? They can only give us a 10 gigabit service. The other carriers that we're talking to, well, we get quotes from multiple other carriers that can give us 100 gig service. And the one of them, like from New Glasgow to Halifax, is 100 gig service, and that same carrier can give us a second one from a point to be determined to mount it. So that basically, we always talk about resiliency. That's your resiliency right there. You have, your internet's going in two different directions, right? And they're looking, that one, can't really tell you where it's to or where it's from. One's in Glasgow, the other one, they're basically saying they would build out in the west, very part of the county, so it may be built to here, they may put it started here. But that's down the road, it won't happen. The one from New Glasgow to Halifax will be in 2021, it'll probably be actively able to do that. Within the next, we'll say month and a half. The second one to mount it is for there on the 2022 project. But that's where we're at with that. But it's more Eastlink just don't have the capacity, right? They're tapped out at 10 gig.
Just on the balance here, under management and oversight, community ombudsman, and polls and make ready. The numbers they have there for last month are different than the report we got last month. Is there a reason for that? Numbers increase a little bit. Why would they change from what we reported? For example, my management oversight is shown as 175, 177 last month, but they were actually 200, 773. Same with the other tiers. Differences in. I think the same thing happened with the balance sheet. Differences in the numbers for this month.
I'm not sure, but we can verify those numbers.
Yeah.
One more, go ahead.
Just on the map there for the pickup towers. I'm just trying to read through that. And, the yellow circle, is that telling us the number of people that will be served by that tower? Is that yellow one?
Right, that is the general power antenna coverage, correct?
Why am I'm just assuming lines running from one location to the other, is like a connection to them, is that what that is? The dark line running between some of the towers?
The purple line?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically showing to some degree, if you look at, new tower, 30 meter tower, which is basically where we're. So if you look at there's a couple of towers, there's one that goes out kind of towards the Colchester line. It's a blue tower, new co-location with Stingray. So it has a direct line back to here.
Yes.
So that means there's a direct line of sight from this building to that tower. So it will relay directly from that tower to here. Same way with the Harvard Hill, it's a direct relay. The one in River John will relay to Hardwood Hill and then to here. So it just kind of shows you the path.
So the ones that stand alone, just that area that you're showing, sort that would be the only area that's all served and nothing can connect with any other tower.
Basically, yeah.
And
I believe that's the case. I can verify that. One day we'll have it.
And what about the ones with no co-location on them? They don't, but they need co-location to transfer between towers, or what's the co-location for?
No, so a co-location means the tower is not owned by us.
Okay,
So the blue ones are owned by somebody else. And the orange ones would be owned by us. So the blue ones, we're simply putting our equipment on. So we have the lease agreements in place with various owners and entities, type thing. So so Hardwood Hill is Bell. The one on basically the Mount Palm area is Stingray. One in Rossfield is CPE. Piedmont, I believe, is the province. And I believe, Willowdale is also the province. So they're simply just co-location agreements.
And just do that, I know the map is really hard to read, but trying to understand if District 2 has any kind of connection being made with this rapid deployment. I can't see anything on the map that indicates that our area is benefited at all from this. Is that true? Which, or am I reading something wrong there? So,
There's no particular, I guess, at this point, projected coverage there, with the wireless. At this point. Not to say that they potentially couldn't be served, but, as I said last month, the towers are, because the towers are in essence relaying back to other towers, there is capacity there because, or potential bottlenecks because it's all wireless from tower to tower, and we don't have fiber at these towers, so the ability to backhaul data is somewhat constrained. So as we build our fiber network out and we start running fiber to these towers, then your capability of your towers grows, right? Your outreach, because you have the capacity to move.
but do we have any plans in place to run that fiber to how many years in District 2? I guess it's a little for some kind of scheduling for that type of service.
Yeah, so we're actually, and that's kind of being worked on as well, and I believe that's tomorrow. I believe we have a meeting tomorrow to kind of talk about that planning phase of being able to basically kind of show what the plan would be, expected timeframes and things of that nature. So we are working on that as well, kind of be able to give you a detailed plan on when areas might expect the service.
We were supposed to, or we were going to try to get the move last month. Based on this 2,000 homes we were looking at servicing. I didn't get the link on, it's still available.
I can send you the link, but it's a work in progress, so I wouldn't rely totally on what you see on it, but I can certainly send that link, but it is kind of a work in progress, I would say. It's the best way to put it. So if you see an area that says it's not served, doesn't necessarily mean that it's not served. It's just that as kind of the project moves along, information changes or it's updated, things will change, right? I will set it up.
I think you should explain to the residents that the 50 is digital, especially with that. Thank you.
Next is Warden's record.
When I was speaking, my thoughts on the news.
Okay. And the reading to go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to add to what some of the council said. I find this very good to kind of read over slowly at your own time and kind of figure some of it out. There's still a lot of information in here for sure, but and this questions on it, but I have just to do with other companies, I guess, under observation market conditions. Is Bell to provide a quote for in-county transport services. And the Rogers provided a quote for in-county transport services. And more negotiations to continue in July to get firm and final pricing. And then the county should have discussions with Seaside Communications on how our activities from this, is that a wholesale internet service provider? Is that what Westminster? I wasn't sure, I'm just guessing about it.
Yeah, I would say you're dead on. Yeah.
They're in one of the jokes anyway. But so those are three companies. I'm not just sure what they're going to be doing for us. Transport, in-county transport. Two of them are in-county transport, the other one I'm not. With Seaside, I'm not sure what we're looking into there, but what is our relationship? What are we looking for from those companies? What do we call in-county transport?
So in-county transport is your network data. So anything that's generated on your network, it's getting it out of So it's data that's created in Pictou County on our network, getting it out. Pictou
Out
County.
of the county?
Yeah.
Okay, and so when it says in county, it's actually taking what's generated here and moving it out,
Exactly, moving it to the exchanges.
using their services. So we're comparing then what we're getting from one company to another here, is that what we're doing, or it says, well, this is to provide a quote, yeah, Rogers has already provided a quote, so for the same thing, is it?
It would be for the same thing, it's to, move the data. So, we have, excuse me, we've received the quotes from Bell and from Rogers.
So it's for one and the same thing.
It's the exact same thing.
Same line here, I want to.
We're quoting 100 gigabit, service to Halifax.
Okay, and the only other one was the one with Seaside. It doesn't seem to mention that same thing. It just says that, you know, on our activities with this group, what would we be looking for with Seaside? Similar or something different?
I believe what the, more on their side is more on the internet service provider, side of things. And
Being an actual internet service provider on our network.
Yeah.
There's the other two are more transporting it.
the other two are, more on the operation side of the equation. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Anybody else? What's wrong?
This is the sort of a related question. I'm wondering if you could give us any update in regards to the application we made to the federal government back in February, March.
The only, update I can tell you on that is, within the, I guess, a week ago, or I guess since our last meeting, we did receive a letter or an email from Industry Canada, basically saying that they were looking for additional information on, and it comes back to that old served and underserved equation. So we basically, I think we got the email on Wednesday, we had to reply by Friday. So we did meet the deadline and we submitted the additional information. And it was basically, the template we submitted was basically, it's kind of a, almost like a challenge document, that you can submit, to basically say, we believe these areas to be underserved, right? So what we actually submitted to them, was the 2020 data from our Sierra Internet Performance Test, which basically had that the 4,000 tests that were completed in 2020, none of them met the standard. So it identified basically 100, I think it was 100 communities within Pictou County, so the 100 GSAs that did not actually meet the CRTC standard for broadband, so the 50, 10, and the 25. So I guess from I guess as we kind of, when we were kind of working through the exercise, as Matt LeMay said, at least they read the application, same thing, which is a good thing. So he clarified some points. So that's really the only update I have. It wasn't anything beyond that. It was more technical, another technical piece to submit, but.
Are we keeping in touch with our MP in regards to this application and I guess the pending federal election that may increase our opportunity?
I have not honestly had a conversation with them in the last couple months on it. We can certainly continue that. The last discussion that I guess we did have with him was that until it's kind of made its way through technical review, there isn't a whole lot happens, within the department, so it's still going through that kind of technical review. I believe they did in the federal budget, they did put more money into the universal broadband fund, as well, but at this point, it's still kind of at the technical level, so, and I believe they had 5,000 applications from across the world. So.
Thank you. Anybody else? Just, I'm gonna change or turn it over to Councilor Williams, and then just a couple questions to ask. All right. Councilor Williams. Just had a couple of news, I had a few written down here, and most of them were answered. But one thing that struck me when, talk about Rock Network, struggling to steer a supply chain, and subcontractors seem to be notified with the deadline. You said that digital activity is working on this. Are they working on trying to store subcontractors, or are they? What are they working
Oh. Anything that we work, digital ubiquity is working on, there's a plan A, but there's always a plan B. So plan A is Rock Networks, but there is always plan B that, to secure other ways of completing the project. So.
And we're talking phase one, right?
Right.
We're talking phase one there?
Phase one, correct.
Even though we're in the contract with them, we can do that?
Correct, yes. We have the tools within the contract to do that.
So if it does, then, well, it doesn't pay for that, then.
Right.
The other thing I read here, it says Rock permits. Rock needs to do permits for 2022, that need to be filled out before 2021, and they're not doing this. Is this for another phase, or is this for? Let's see where I see it. Right here, yeah.
Yeah, so basically your future phases, need to basically be submitted, right, to, in essence, to Nova Scotia Power and Dell. So we've got the make readies in for phase one, right? But really, when we look at that, they were submitted last November, October, November, right? So here we are 10 months after the fact, and we're just starting to see movement on them. So in order to basically be ready for future phases, that work needs to be submitted to Nova Scotia Power.
See, that's what confuses me, because right now, I Valley's doing that work for them. They're not, we're paying on Valley to get these make readies up and running, right?
We're paying iValley to manage the make ready process,
So management ready.
right?
So Broad Network is actually filling out the application, sending them to
Correct.
Valley's just what? The managing.
So they basically, once they're submitted, manage the kind of the tracking and coordination with Nova Scotia Power and Dell. If there's things missing, they go like iValley or there to make sure that the information is provided. But the builder submits the actual link ready.
It's being done now. No, I didn't. We all see the charges. There, how much we're paying for digital equity and iValley. It's a lot of money, right? And it adds up over time because every month it seems to get higher, higher, higher. So I just hope our costs there keep them down. But one other thing else. In the, in our finances, they're digital, effectively buying, are they buying hardware for page one? Does it kind of read that way?
It's really ubiquity.
Yeah, well, just in our package there tonight. That's fair.
Yeah, so it's not hardware. It's software and licensing.
Software licensing.
Yeah.
No, it's just, I guess that's coming up in the next.
Yeah, so they're not applying hardware.
They're just buying licensing and things like that.
Yeah, so they've secured all of these portals. It's all computer based, so the financials, like there's a program called Pluto, Zero, and then all the dashboards and all that. That's all software driven. So there's the licensing fees with that, which Digital Ubiquity basically secured on our behalf. So.
No, that's, everything else I did was, yeah, very easy, so. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Councilor Morris. Okay, nothing else? Move on. Next is emergency resolution. Emergency resolution. Seeing none? Any referrals to committees, council, and notice of motions? One part.
Perhaps on our next property services committee, we could add the topic of housing. Housing is a big topic right now in the province for sure, and I'm hearing more of it around our county. And the fact that the survey that was sent to me by somebody not very long ago, I mean, sent it around everybody because it asks some questions that might be good for us to answer, or that we know where we're at, somewhat, or what demands there might be. But we're not, sort of immune to the housing problem. In fact, I think the CIO mentioned last meeting that perhaps some of the reason for the interest in the open special school was because there's such a shortage of housing. Hear people saying that they can't rent anything for less than $1,200 or something. So I'm hoping that maybe we can get somebody in to talk to us about that, but I will send that survey around from the Bay, I think it's just working for some group in the county. It's just of interest to look at it. If you have any comments, you want me to fill it out, get back to them, but to work with our group here, so if anybody has any input, I will get somebody send it to us.
I think we got that.
Or perhaps everybody got it, I think it's somewhere.
He only gave us a few days.
Yeah, it's coming up, July 23rd, maybe.
Yeah, he was done very short.
Yeah, but that whole topic of houses, we don't talk real much. It's not something that, in the time I've been here anyway, it's not something we ever get into much, but maybe we just need to be aware, of what, maybe there's not a need or concern, but we need to be aware, I think, of what it is.
Council one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to let people know that back on July 16th, the NSFM sent out a survey, looking for feedback from the members prior to the provincial election. We have formed a subcommittee that's reviewing communication strategy, and we really would like to see some input from our members as to what they'd like to see come from the NSFM concerning the platforms that we get through support cards there. Thank you.
Council one.
Yeah, I was just wondering if, on my way here tonight, I noticed up on the sector there that they're doing a lot of clearing and doing a lot of staking in Prairie Road as well as So it looks like the sun's gonna move and getting maybe a roundabout or whatever in there, so I'm just wondering if we get an update maybe at the next meeting, so you can find out what is happening.
Well, the contract was awarded.
Oh, is that right?
SW weeks. I think the deadline is November 30, so we started clearing today.
Okay.
And then we'll cruise in the near future, start celebrating what things are going.
Good thinking.
What's your name,
But I mean, Mr. Chair, on that contract is for the roundabout and the paving up to the 106.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
There's two different projects there.
They're pretty different projects.
Yeah, it's one proposal and two projects. Some the same.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. There's nothing further, motion for adjourn. Moved by Alderman Parker,
Second.
Councilor Day. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Count by name.
Call property services meeting to order. Sorry, financial services, sorry about that. Approval of agenda. Okay, moved and seconded by Councilor Butler. Any questions, comments on the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary nay, motion carried. Next, we have the approval of the minutes from June 21st and July the 5th. We'll handle those together. Any corrections, omissions? Okay, so moved by Deputy Warden Murray and seconded by Councilor Dave Parker. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary nay, motion carried. Next, we have reports. First, we have the recreation report for the month of June.
So
Moved by Councilor Boyles. Seconded by Deputy Warden Murray. Any comments or questions on the recreation report? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary nay, motion carried. Next, we have the communication report for the month of June. Your pleasure, councilors.
So move.
Moved by Dave Parker, Councilor Dave Parker, seconded by Councilor Chester Dewar. Warden Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I always read with great interest the number of, I guess it's views that everything gets. And I think it's quite significant that if you look at the number for our loan equipment program through our recreation department, at 10,748, they're so far right in front of the pack that they can't even be seen around the corner. And there's nothing else on higher than 2,000 or 3,000. So I think that means a lot. It means that that program is being used and watched. It's very valuable here in the summertime. A lot of families and stuff still not able to travel far or whatever. And I know I had an email last week or 2 weeks ago. Somebody questioning, how much equipment we have for accessibility at beaches in our county. So I simply referred them to our recreation department here, because I know that you have a program set up where they have some equipment here, but I think they're also working with the people that I think control some of the beaches on the board here. So that number stuck out to me that people were paying attention to that, which is an initiative of this recreation department here that has grown as it took on. So we want to get that. That's good news for our county.
Thank you very much, Warden Parker. Any other comments? Deputy Warden Murray?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was there last week for a meeting and I was talking to Claire, and she said somebody dropped off, I think it's 26 or 27 bucks a donation for recreation, so. They mentioned the name, that's right.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, here we go to comments. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary nay, motion carried. Next, we have accounts paid for the month of June. Moved by Councilor Dewar,
I'll second.
seconded by Councilor Turner. Any questions? Councilor One.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just on the broadband information, under the digital committee. It says about RDN oversight. What would the?
So the RDN oversight is the project management. So they're project managing,
Oversight teams.
so they're overseeing everything. So that's,
And a few months ago, I asked about High Valley and the amount we were paying them. I was looking at about $20,000 a month. They haven't seen that happen yet with High Valley. The numbers are coming through quite high, because we're paying out the same amount each month for them. And I'm just wondering at what point will we see that drop, since we're using digital ubiquity? And when will we see a report that shows how we're saving money by doing the digital, by using digital ubiquity? Because there's supposed to be savings a lot of money for this as well.
yeah, so the iValley amount is down. It's down to 16,100. So it's down, that's 14,000 plus tax, and it was higher than that, or it was at least in the 20s before, it used to be 24, so that this, we have kind of changed a bit of the scope there. And we're still working kind of on that as well, on moving all our contracts to more of a, like that one right now is still a retainer, but we're looking to move that to more fee for service type arrangement, versus a flat fee. So more, I guess, an hourly rate type thing. So basically, I guess is where we're looking to go with that. I think when we look at digital ubiquity, basically kind of shows in their report, we're under budget in a number of categories, and that's a direct reflection of them working the various components of the various projects to save money, right? So that's the U100. On the rapid deployment network, I believe we were 210,000 under budget, or forecast to be under budget there. So that's a direct reflection of them, and their costs are included in there, right? What's being paid to them. So there is savings that are being achieved. Hopefully there's continue to move along. There'll be other opportunities to save money. So
I guess again, it's just trying to understand all the information we're getting on this project. Yeah, under budget, I've got to have something to do with the equipment out in order, timing, and that sort of thing too. That doesn't affect the budget being under.
no, because they're forecasting that even though the equipment hasn't been ordered, it needs to be ordered.
Yes.
So when they do the forecast, that equipment is in the forecasted call, right? That it does need to be ordered. So while we're underspending, it's really a terminology thing, I guess, for anything. While we're not putting cash out for these things, at the end of the day, when the project is complete, those items are fully costed in there. So the savings that you're seeing are actual savings that they anticipate you will have, because the changes in, could be changes in equipment, could be changes in scope, could be a number of factors, but those are what the forecast is, what they actually believe at the end of the day the project will cost us. So 200,000 is a saving.
So the forecast includes that equipment.
Right, if we include everything they
The
anticipate.
budget itself is, okay, very good, thank you.
Warden Parson?
you, Madam Chair. Just wondered what it costs sometimes of our laterals for sewer, for bringing sewer to somebody's house. There's two in there. One is check 17,328 for Blaine McLean, in Green Hill. The cost was just slightly over $11,000 for the lateral across. The other's in, check number 17,352 for Tucker's for the lateral across the River John for 2760. I realize all circumstances are different, but, you know, that's probably 4 times as much. Is there any sort of average that we have to put laterals across, or does it range? That seems like a wide range from 2,500 roughly to 11,000.
So the biggest difference is technology that's used, so the Blaine McLean would be a directional drill, where the, pupper would be the old.
Digging it up.
Digging it up.
Okay, and in some cases, it's not a choice, really, to dig it up, but on that country road, you may be able to dig it up.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wondered, that seems like a wide difference, so if we have to do the cross directional drill, it's big road one, it's just a whole lot more expensive.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the accounts paid for the month of June? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have Northumberland Regional High School and North Nova Education Center grad funding water bottle amount. And just to be clear, this isn't the $1,000 that we've given them.
Engagement for graduation expenses, this is what was spent on.
Oh, okay, so this isn't a request, this is just showing what the money was spent on.
Yes.
Okay, so just for information purposes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Any questions or comments on that? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to number 12, funding requests. First, we have recreation summer programs in River John, Plymouth, Lismore, and Thorburn. 4 programs at $750 each for a total of $3,000. Okay, moved by Warden Harper. Yes, Senator? Who's that?
You.
Oh, sorry. Seconded by Councilor Boyle. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have Pictou County Ultimate Frisbee Program, $350 startup grant. Okay, so moved by Councilor Watson, seconded by Councilor Palmer. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have East River Valley Recreation, Phil and topsoil at ball field for $1,000 for capital. Okay, so moved by Councilor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Dewar. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, next we have municipal service grants. And you need the figure summary, so in your package, I believe it's page 49 out of 55. Oh. Here I lost it. There we go. We have a grant summary. Do you want to deal with these together separately, districts? What's your pleasure, councilors? Each district? Okay, so first we have District 2, Little Harbor Community Center, $20,000 for alarm inspection, appliances, sound system, roof repairs. Okay, so moved by Councilor Watson, seconded by Councilor Palmer. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have District 3, Caribou Island Cemetery, $250 operating expenses. It's moved by Warden Parker.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilor Turner. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have District 4, Burns Memorial Presbyterian Church, $4,500 for permits. Salem United Church Cemetery, $1,200 for operating expenses. St. John's Anglican Ladies Guild, $2,000 for partial roof replacement for a total of $7,700.
So moved, Peter.
Okay, moved by Councilor Boyle, seconded by Councilor Parker. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have District 5, Bethel Presbyterian Church in the amount of $8,000 for flooring, fire escape, exterior wall repair. Line for Call Society, $8,000 for roof replacement. And Scottsburg Recreation Club in the amount of $4,000 for operating expenses for a total of $20,000.
So moved.
Moved by Deputy Ward Murray,
Seconded.
seconded by Councilor Parker. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary nay. Motion carried. Next, we have District 8, Abercrombie Cemetery Company, in the amount of $6,000 for operating expenses. Abercrombie Community Center, amount of $5,500 for heat pump and operating expenses. Abercrombie Fire Department, $5,000 for fire hoses. Alma Cemetery, $948.75 for operating expenses. And Mount William Cemetery, $2,500 for operating expenses in the amount of $19,948.75.
Oh,
Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Turner and seconded by figure. Thank you. Thank you. Councilor One.
Just trying to make sense, like a month ago, for the fire departments, we took money we had up there, area fire rates, and now we have a request from one of the departments, that proposal came from the department, looking for $5,000 for fire hoses. And they lost $5,000, so going $5,000 on their area rates, and I'm just trying to understand the rationale behind taking it from their area rate, but giving it back through the service. So I hope you answer that question.
Would you like to answer that question? Word Parker?
The only comment that you're right, is up to the ratepayer where they want to spend it, where they want to spend their municipal service grant, but Abercrombie is the one department, we're suffering loss this year, mostly because of the public health situation, but also next one. The other one has a lower income than what they had, in previous years, so that made it part of the thinking going into this, and, you know, we need to give them a little extra help because it's a downturn year for them. For many fire departments, if you look at the growth before, that growth is, even an upturn, downturn, the pace of Abercrombie because of the massive size of the hotel and this one, that cross ended up now.
And I know too, sometimes fire departments, every area is different, and every district, traditionally, some fire departments usually do apply for a municipal service grant. I know that has been the tradition in the industry.
To that, I think kind of find out the rationale behind taking money from the fire rate, which would cover off the rates. That's when we're around giving them service company. I certainly don't object to the ratepayers doing it, but it's just trying to make sense of it myself after using it all.
Okay? Anything else? All right, we'll call Councilor Boyles.
Yeah, well, it's something that, since I've been a counselor, that, with my fire department, and it'll be coming up next, that I give to the fire department. If we have a meeting, we turn around always to the fire department, the Hillside Hall now, and the two cemeteries, and that's what they've been doing all along, and there's nothing new come out of it. And I think as long as they say, and that's I think what the rules are, what if they want to do, that's what we do with it. So I can't see nothing wrong with it. It's helping them. Why not?
Okay. See no more questions or comments, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary nay. Motion carried. Check burn in District 9, Hillside Cemetery, $2,000 operating expenses. Hillside Community Society, $9,000 hall improvements. Line Fire Department, $9,000 for turnout gear, pressure washer, and hose connections. And Peaceful Walkerville, is that recreate? No.
I don't know what that is. It's on the application, by the way.
Okay.
It's the cemetery.
Yes, I just said there's your cemetery. So $2,000 for cemetery operating expenses for a grand total of $22,000. Moved by Councilor Boyle, seconded by Councilor Turner. Councilor One.
And I guess the same question for this one. Mine is the fire department lost $5,000 off their area rate. and we're turning around and giving them $9,000 on the service schedule, and I'm just having a problem trying to analyze what we're trying to do with these schedules.
Councilor Boyce.
Yeah, I hope this is not gonna happen all the time. Every time something's up at a fire station or something, that it's gonna just bring back what happened over the fire study and what was, passed by council. It's done, it's over with. When we have our communities that want to, our districts that want to give to certain things, and one is the fire department, it always happens again, I say this, so I can't see what the problem is. My fire department got the 9,000 and they can use it, so to me, I just think it's outrageous.
See no questions or comments, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have District 10, Pleasant Mountain Cemetery, in the amount of $3,400 for stone repairs. Moved by Councilor Palmer. Second by Councilor Thompson. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have District 11. We have Churchill Hall in the amount of $1,500 for operating expenses. Glenville Hall Community Association, $950 operating expenses. Plymouth Community and Recreation Association, $2,500 accessible ranch shelter. And Sunny Gray Cemetery Company, the amount of $400 operating expenses for a grand total of $5,350. Moved by Councilor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Dewar. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. And last but not least, we have District 12. First Presbyterian Church, $500 for lawn care at Hopewell Rural Memorial. East River Valley Community Development Association, the amount of $3,000 for newsletter expenses and Riverton Hall upkeep. East River Valley Recreation, $1,000 ball field improvements. Friends of Iona Park Association, $1,000 operating expenses. Hopewell 4-H Club, $1,250 for project expenses and war memorial expenses at Eureka. Lorne Community Hall, $3,000 for operating expenses. Lorne Cemetery, $1,000 for operating expenses, and Riverton Cemetery, $1,000 for operating expenses, for a grand total of $11,750. Okay, so moved by Councilor Dewar and seconded by Councilor Thompson. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, so those are your municipal service grants package. All right, we'll move on to number 13, accessibility advisory committee appointments. So as you remember, we had advertised publicly for their accessibility advisory committee. And we have 4 applicants from our municipality that have made application. And just for a question of clarification, Carolyn, all 4 can be.
They're all eligible.
They're all eligible, and you can have 4 board members from the community, from our municipality on that. There's room for that.
Deferred sale on.
Okay.
The committee has to have a minimum of 50% from the community.
Okay. Let me
Yeah, they can have more, so you do not have to, if you appoint 5 people from the community, you do not have to appoint 5 councillors, you could appoint 2 councillors. But there has to be, if it's a committee of 10 or 12, there has to be at least half coming from the community side.
So minimum of 50%. Okay. So we have 4 applicants. We have Ray Gunn, Susan Matheson, Rick Parker, and Grace Maxner. So what is your pleasure, councilors? Okay, so moved by Deputy Warden Murray that we accept that. Okay, and seconded by Councilor Connor. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Community announcements. Now things opening up, I'm sure we'll start to hear some more announcements. Councilor Dewar.
Thank you. In the last couple of weeks, we're very fortunate that my district and former District 7, I guess, Justin Shaw from Elgin judged on some of the draft horse divisions at the Calgary Stampede. His daughter represented county or Nova Scotia and Canada as the Queen of the Clydesdales. Made some presentations at the Calgary Stampede. This is a big deal, like for people from Nova Scotia, Pictou County, District 12, and Elgin to get to the Stampede. And I really was proud to know these people, and these people all work at our own exhibition here. And they were certainly good ambassadors, as well as our former councillor, Leonard Fraser. He showed his horses at the Calgary Stampede as well. So Pictou County was certainly well represented this year at the Calgary Stampede. I know the numbers and everything are down and everything is different, but just for them to be able to be there, and for the majority of the agriculture people, Pictou County and the exhibition committees, etc., to know these people and how proud we were, and they are, to represent us as being ambassadors there. So I kind of want that just to go on the record, that for down the road. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Parker.
Mark your calendars, July 31st, that's the last Saturday of the month. There will be a community yard sale. The market, whatever you want to call it, $15 a table or a spot to call it. At the Union Center Hall, from 8:30 to 1. A little barbecue to follow. A sign of the reawakening of our communities. Thank you.
What time is it be?
It'll be 8:30 to 1. 8:30 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. A lot of night.
Okay, thank you. Warden Parker.
Thank you, Chair. This is actually, I think it's probably in your district, or actually it's in Councilor Elliott's district. But I think it's worth taking note that and making note in the minutes, as Councilor Dewar said, the new Governor General for Canada actually resides, at least part-time, right here in our rural municipality, in Little Pictou County. And Carolina. So it is in your district. Mary Simon, who of course has been named our next Governor General by Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, or no?
Oh,
You're living in the past.
Taking yourself.
Yeah, living in the past. And her husband, Will Fraser, and I didn't realize that until I read the paper, but what a great thing to have found out we have the Governor General of our country that has at least the summer residents, or I think last year because of the bubble, they were full-time residents. So I think that's worth noting in our minutes, that's in place. I would make a motion that we send a letter of congratulations to Mary Simon on her appointment from our municipality.
Okay, do we have a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Councilor Parker seconds that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded nay. Motion carried. Anyone else with a community announcement? Councilor Palmer.
I'd just like to mention that Brittany Fraser, who grew up in Greenwood County, leading Olympics in the equestrian dressage portion of it. So, her father is Craig Fraser, the overseer of construction, owns Fraser Homes from the Greenwood. Anyway, just, some local talent, so.
That's a very big deal. That's amazing. Well, I congratulate all those competitors that have been showcasing all of their talents across the country and around the world. I do have a community announcement. The Caribou Fire Department is having their annual lobster dinner on August 7th. And it's takeout only, again, this year. It's $20 a meal. You get a lobster, potato salad, coleslaw, roll, cucumber, tomato, and cake for dessert. So they're taking orders until the 5th of August at 7 p.m. Okay? And I have a phone number here. You can call or text 759-0686. But your meals have to be ordered before 7 p.m. on Thursday, August the 5th. Okay, so that's it for community announcements. We have a Councillor Boyles is going to do a banner demonstration. So Councillor Boyles, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you very much. I guess there was a background first. I was in one of the conventions, I was talking to these people, and they sent me, those asked me what I like a banner for a call at the store, and they asked me what I think the council and everything, and I want to know about the council because they seem to not realize that. But anyway, it's called a bellow wrap. And what these bellow wraps are, they go down poles, and you can get anything on them at all. They'll, whatever you want on them, they'll put on. I never took it out of the page yet, where you know what it looks like, but I never took it out yet. I will in 2 minutes. But they're supposed to be, you know, they're 3D free, but if you're around, they can't. They just come straight off. It's you know, again, they're guaranteed for 2 years, but they said they'll last 6 to 8. They're $184 a piece. And again, I think the big thing about them is you can put anything on them you want. Like I was thinking in front of rinks or something, you know, they had like the hockey player and the roulette derby person and the pickleball and the dancer or something like this. It shows what's going, you know, goes on in places only you get into. But it could be anything. The fire departments, it could be community hall, it could be anything. But anything can go on. And that's what I'm trying to say. And I send everybody, well, there, I send everybody I get Brian and Mary. I didn't have Mary's come up on my computer, but I sent everybody else one. At the end of it, it states that you can request sample. So I don't know if we can all get samples or not, but I think I'll just put it out over here and you can have a look at it and see what they think. And but I told them I take it here and just let you see it. And they also told us they would do a demonstration if we'd like a demonstration on it. But
There's one hold that.
you can learn not today. Well, that's the getting done the flowers.
Hold up, parallel, dance.
Yeah. And then it would read around the pole. And say this is just as the flowers and stuff, but you get anything at all you want on them. And they give you a demonstration of how to put them on. I've already been through that with them and stuff like that. But anyway, I told everybody, I told them I'd take it and show it. So anybody wants to feel the material or anything, I'll just leave it on the next year.
I think you should take it to the headquarters of the three political parties. They'll want to order them.
What's that?
Take it to the headquarters of the three political parties. They'll want to order them. Right?
Well, thank you very much for sharing, Councilor Boyle. Are these people local? Are they local or are they?
No, they're, it's just say on the, you'll see on the, it's on here, you'll see on the thing I sent you, where it's.
Anti-stink, anti-graffiti wrap.
Toronto.
Toronto for the community. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for sharing, Councilor Wells. That was very interesting, and I'm sure there's lots of ideas that we could use in our communities to use that product. So thank you for sharing. Okay, next we'll move on to referrals to committees, council, and notices of motion. Any referrals to committees? Council, notices of motion? Okay, I'm hearing none, so I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Moved? Seconded? Moved and seconded, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Thank you.
All right, let's do that.